The night is quieter than usual, yet your spirit feels restless. You have been carrying burdens that no one else can see. You smile in front of people, but deep inside there is exhaustion, confusion, and fear about what comes next. Today, this message has reached you for a reason. This is not the time to ignore the voice calling your heart back to truth. God is saying that your time to keep living in distraction is almost over. The season you are in is critical. Every decision you make now matters more than you realize. There are moments in life when heaven sends warnings before major change arrives. This is one of those moments. God has seen the tears you cried in silence. He has seen the nights when anxiety kept you awake. He has seen the hidden battles in your mind and the pressure that has been draining your strength little by little. You have been trying to handle everything alone, but your soul is becoming tired. God is telling you that you cannot continue walking without spiritual direction. If you keep ignoring the signs, the emptiness inside you will only grow stronger. You have delayed important changes for too long. There are habits damaging your peace, relationships stealing your energy, and thoughts destroying your confidence. God says the time for excuses is ending. You already know what needs to leave your life, yet fear keeps stopping you. Fear of rejection. Fear of failure. Fear of losing comfort. But the longer you stay trapped in unhealthy patterns, the more distant you feel from the purpose prepared for you. The enemy wants you distracted. That is why your mind has been filled with confusion lately. One moment you feel hopeful, and the next moment you feel completely drained. There are forces trying to keep you discouraged because they know your breakthrough is close. The enemy is afraid of what will happen when you finally wake up spiritually. That is why attacks have increased around your peace, your focus, and your relationships. But God says you are not abandoned. Even now, heaven is fighting battles you cannot see. Something unexpected is approaching your life. God is preparing to remove certain people from your path. Some individuals around you smile in your face while secretly celebrating your struggles. Not everyone clapping for you truly wants to see you rise. God says discernment is necessary now more than ever. Pay attention to repeated signs. Pay attention to strange tension around certain conversations. Pay attention to how you feel after being around certain people. Your spirit has already sensed what your mind keeps trying to ignore. This message is also a reminder about time itself. Life moves quickly. Many people waste years chasing temporary things while neglecting their soul. God is asking you a serious question today. If everything ended suddenly, would your heart truly be at peace with Him? Would you be proud of the life you are living? Would you be satisfied with how you treated people, how you handled opportunities, and how you used the blessings you were given? Too many people assume they have unlimited time to change. But God says tomorrow is not guaranteed. Stop postponing your spiritual growth. Stop waiting for the perfect moment to pray, to forgive, to heal, or to let go. The perfect moment is now. The longer you wait, the harder your heart becomes. You were not created to live disconnected from God's presence. You were created for purpose, peace, wisdom, and truth. There is also a heavy burden in your heart connected to your past. You still replay certain memories over and over again. Mistakes, betrayals, missed opportunities, words you wish you never said. God says you must stop living chained to what cannot be changed. The enemy uses guilt to convince you that your future is ruined, but God's mercy is greater than your failures. Your story is not finished. The pain did not destroy you because heaven still has plans for your life. A major shift is coming. Some doors will close suddenly. Some friendships will fade. Some routines will end. At first it may feel painful, but later you will realize God was protecting you. Not every closed door is punishment. Sometimes it is rescue. Sometimes God removes what is comfortable because comfort has been keeping you from your destiny. You have been praying for change while resisting the process required to receive it. God says your attention is needed urgently because spiritual attacks increase when purpose gets closer. Lately you have felt emotionally unstable for reasons you cannot explain. There are moments when sadness hits you without warning. Moments when motivation disappears. Moments when you feel disconnected even while surrounded by people. God says do not ignore this condition of your spirit. Feed your soul with prayer, truth, and wisdom before darkness convinces you to give up. You are entering a season where discipline will matter more than emotion. Feelings change constantly, but obedience creates stability. God is calling you to become stronger mentally and spiritually. Wake up earlier. Pray more. Spend less time feeding distractions. Protect your peace carefully. Some things that entertain you are slowly poisoning your spirit. Some voices you keep listening to are leading you further away from clarity. Be careful what enters your mind daily because your mind shapes your future. There is also someone reading this who has been secretly asking God for one final sign. You have been exhausted from carrying responsibilities alone. Financial stress, family pressure, emotional pain, and disappointment have left you feeling hopeless. But God says do not surrender to despair. Your situation can still change suddenly. One opportunity. One breakthrough. One divine connection can transform everything. Do not let temporary darkness convince you that your story ends in defeat. However, God also warns that pride is becoming dangerous in your life. You have been trying to control everything yourself instead of surrendering fully. Sometimes you pray, but deep down you still depend more on your own understanding than on God's direction. True surrender means trusting even when answers are delayed. It means remaining faithful even when life becomes uncomfortable. Faith is not proven during easy seasons. Faith is proven when storms refuse to leave. The next few weeks may reveal hidden truths around you. Secrets may come to light. False people may expose themselves naturally. Situations you once misunderstood will suddenly make sense. God says do not panic when uncomfortable truths appear. Exposure is necessary before healing can begin. You cannot fix what remains hidden in darkness. There is a calling on your life that you keep underestimating. You were not meant to live small, fearful, and spiritually asleep. God placed gifts inside you for a reason. But gifts require responsibility. If you continue ignoring your spiritual condition, your potential will remain buried beneath distraction and fear. Heaven is urging you to wake up before more time disappears. Tonight, take this message seriously. Spend time alone with God. Put away distractions for a while. Think honestly about the direction your life is moving. Ask yourself what truly matters. Ask yourself whether your current path is bringing peace or destruction. God is still giving you time to change, but the warning is urgent because the season ahead will test many people spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. Do not be afraid of change. Sometimes the breaking season comes before the blessing season. Sometimes isolation comes before elevation. Sometimes endings are necessary before new beginnings arrive. God says you are closer to transformation than you realize, but you must stop running from the process. This is your wake-up call. Your time to remain spiritually asleep is almost over. Your time to keep ignoring truth is almost over. God is calling you back while there is still time to listen. The warning continues because God does not want you entering the next season unprepared. Too many signs have already appeared around your life for this message to be ignored. You have noticed unusual pressure building lately. Small problems turning into larger ones. Delays appearing repeatedly. Emotional exhaustion increasing without explanation. God says these are not random moments. Your spirit has been trying to alert you that something deeper is happening. There is a battle over your focus. The enemy understands that if your attention stays trapped in fear, distraction, and confusion, you will never fully step into the purpose waiting ahead of you. That is why your mind has felt crowded recently. You try to rest, but worries continue speaking. You try to move forward, but memories keep pulling you backward. You try to feel hopeful, but doubt keeps whispering negative thoughts into your heart. God says enough is enough. You were not created to live controlled by fear. The reason this message feels intense is because heaven is trying to wake you up before a major turning point arrives. Some people wait until everything collapses before they seek God seriously. But wisdom listens before destruction appears. God says He has been calling your attention in many ways already. Through certain conversations. Through repeated dreams. Through uncomfortable situations. Through unexpected delays. Through moments where you felt a strong conviction in your spirit. Yet you kept brushing it aside, believing you had more time. There is danger in constantly delaying spiritual change. The longer a person ignores truth, the easier it becomes for darkness to enter their thinking. God says you cannot continue feeding your soul with negativity and expect peace to grow. You cannot keep surrounding yourself with toxic influences and expect clarity to remain. Every voice you listen to plants something inside your spirit. Every environment shapes your mind. Every decision either moves you closer to purpose or further away from it. God wants you to examine your circle carefully now. Not everyone around you belongs in your next chapter. Some people are connected to your life only because of convenience. Some only appear when they need something from you. Others secretly enjoy seeing you remain stuck because your growth threatens their comfort. This is why you have felt tension around certain individuals lately. Your spirit recognizes what your heart keeps trying to excuse. You have been too available to people who do not value your peace. Too forgiving toward repeated disrespect. Too silent about things that continue hurting you. God says protecting your peace is not selfish. It is necessary. Some doors must close so healing can begin. Some conversations must end so clarity can return. Some attachments must break so your future can finally open. The enemy has been using exhaustion against you. When a person becomes emotionally drained, they stop thinking clearly. They become vulnerable to hopelessness, anger, temptation, and discouragement. That is why you must guard your spirit carefully during this season. Rest matters. Prayer matters. Silence matters. Your soul cannot survive if you constantly fill your life with noise and chaos. God says there is hidden potential inside you that has not been fully awakened yet. You keep underestimating what heaven placed within you. Fear has convinced you that you are weak, unqualified, or too damaged to make a difference. But God does not choose people based on perfection. He chooses willing hearts. Many of the strongest people in Scripture once felt broken, uncertain, and afraid. Yet God still used them powerfully because they decided to trust Him despite their fear. Something important is about to shift in your understanding. Soon you will begin seeing situations differently. Certain things that once confused you will suddenly become clear. God will reveal why some prayers were delayed. He will reveal why certain relationships ended. He will reveal why some opportunities disappeared even when you wanted them badly. Not every rejection was punishment. Some rejections were divine protection. You have cried over things that would have destroyed you later if they had remained in your life. God says stop mourning what He removed. Stop chasing what He already closed. The future cannot fully open while you keep holding on to expired seasons. Some chapters were meant to teach you, not stay with you forever. There is also a warning concerning your words. Lately, frustration has caused you to speak negatively about yourself and your future. You say things like, "Nothing will ever change," or "I will never recover from this." God says your words carry power. Stop partnering with hopelessness. Stop speaking defeat over your life. Even in difficult seasons, you must learn to speak with faith instead of fear. The enemy wants you emotionally isolated. Isolation creates vulnerability. That is why you have felt misunderstood lately. That is why some days you feel like nobody truly sees your pain. But God says you are not forgotten. Heaven has heard every silent prayer you whispered when nobody else was around. Even when people misunderstood you, God still understood your heart completely. There is someone reading this who has almost given up on a dream. Disappointment made you stop believing anything good could happen anymore. You tried multiple times, and each failure weakened your confidence. But God says the delay was not the denial. Timing matters. Preparation matters. Growth matters. Some blessings require a stronger version of you before they arrive. You are also entering a season where truth will separate real people from fake people. Masks will begin falling naturally. Some people will distance themselves because they can no longer manipulate you the way they once did. Others will become uncomfortable because your discernment is increasing. Do not chase people who walk away during your healing process. The right people will not fear your growth. God says there are spiritual habits you must rebuild immediately. You cannot expect peace while neglecting your relationship with Him. Prayer should not become your last option only during emergencies. You need daily connection with God because the world around you constantly drains your spirit. Without spiritual strength, fear easily takes control. There are also hidden blessings preparing to enter your life quietly. Even now, doors are being arranged behind the scenes. Opportunities you cannot yet see are moving closer. Certain prayers are already in motion, though the answers have not appeared physically yet. God says do not lose hope during the waiting period. Some miracles take time because the right conditions must come together first. The enemy has been trying to convince you that your best days are behind you. But God says your story is still unfolding. The pain you experienced will not be wasted. One day your testimony will encourage people who are fighting battles similar to yours. The wounds that almost broke you will eventually become proof of God's healing power. Still, there is urgency in this message because time moves quickly. Too many people keep assuming they can fix their spiritual life later. Later becomes months. Months become years. Years become regret. God says stop waiting for a crisis before changing your direction. Learn obedience while you still have the chance. There may also be sudden changes happening around your finances, career, or personal relationships soon. Do not panic if things begin shifting unexpectedly. Sometimes God allows instability temporarily to move you towards something greater. Growth often feels uncomfortable before it becomes rewarding. Trust the process even when you cannot fully understand it yet. One of the biggest battles in your life right now is mental. Negative thoughts have been attacking your confidence repeatedly. The enemy knows that if he can control your thinking, he can influence your actions. That is why you must protect your mind carefully. Stop consuming content that increases fear, anger, jealousy, or hopelessness. Your spirit absorbs more than you realize. God says discipline is your weapon in this season. Small daily choices will shape your future more than emotional moments. Stay consistent even when motivation disappears. Continue praying even when answers feel delayed. Continue believing even when circumstances look impossible. Faith grows strongest during difficult seasons. There is also a need for forgiveness in your heart. You have been carrying anger towards someone who deeply hurt you. The pain was real. The betrayal was real. But holding on to bitterness is poisoning your peace slowly. Forgiveness does not mean approving what happened. It means refusing to let the pain control your future any longer. Tonight, God wants your full attention. Step away from distractions for a moment. Listen carefully to your spirit. Deep inside, you already know what needs to change. You already know which habits are damaging you. You already know which relationships are draining your peace. You already know where fear has been controlling your decisions. This is the moment to stop running from truth. God says your future still holds hope, but you must wake up spiritually before more time slips away. The next season of your life will require wisdom, courage, discipline, and faith stronger than before. Prepare your heart now because transformation is closer than you think. God says the reason this message keeps reaching you is because heaven refuses to stay silent while your spirit stands at a crossroads. You may think these are only words, but deep inside you can feel something pulling at your heart. There is a reason your attention keeps returning to this warning. Your soul recognizes urgency even when your mind tries to ignore it. For a long time, you have carried silent battles nobody fully understands. You learned how to hide your pain behind normal conversations and daily routines. People see your outside appearance, but they do not see the pressure you carry internally. Some days you feel emotionally exhausted before the day even begins. Other days you feel disconnected from everything around you. God says this heaviness did not appear without reason. Your spirit has been under attack. The enemy studies weakness carefully. He looks for moments when people are tired, discouraged, lonely, or distracted. That is why attacks often increase after disappointment, betrayal, or failure. The enemy wants your mind trapped in hopelessness because hopeless people stop fighting for their future. But God says you must not surrender now. The battle surrounding you may be intense, but greater strength is available if you stay connected to Him. Recently you have felt strange shifts happening around your life. Some relationships changed suddenly. Some plans fell apart unexpectedly. Certain people became distant without explanation. You questioned why everything seemed unstable at once. God says not every separation is loss. Sometimes He removes people quietly because they cannot follow you into the next season prepared for your life. There are individuals who benefited from your weakness. They preferred the version of you that lacked confidence, boundaries, and discernment. But something inside you has been changing recently. You are becoming more aware, more careful, more spiritually sensitive. And certain people feel uncomfortable because they sense that change happening. God says stop apologizing for protecting your peace. Stop feeling guilty for distancing yourself from negativity. Your spirit cannot heal while constantly surrounded by confusion, manipulation, and emotional chaos. Some environments drain your energy without you realizing it. Some conversations poison your thinking slowly over time. This is why discernment matters now more than ever before. There is also a serious warning about distraction. The enemy does not always destroy people through obvious evil. Sometimes he simply keeps them distracted long enough to waste their purpose. Endless entertainment, constant noise, empty habits, toxic influences. All these things slowly weaken spiritual awareness until people stop hearing God clearly. God says your attention has been divided for too long. You have been feeding temporary desires while starving your soul. You have been giving energy to things that cannot heal you, save you, or bring lasting peace. Deep down you already know certain habits are damaging your spirit, yet comfort keeps pulling you back into cycles that leave you empty afterward. This is why you feel restless at night sometimes. Your soul is searching for something deeper than temporary pleasure or external success. No amount of distraction can permanently silence spiritual hunger. You were created for connection with God, and until that connection becomes strong again, something inside you will continue feeling incomplete. There is someone reading this who feels trapped by regret. You replay past mistakes constantly. You think about opportunities you lost, relationships you damaged, or decisions you wish you could undo. The enemy keeps reminding you of your failures because he wants you to believe your future is ruined. But God says mercy still exists for you. Your worst mistakes do not have the final word over your destiny. Some of the strongest people become powerful precisely because they survived painful seasons. Your scars are not proof that God abandoned you. They are proof that you survived battles designed to destroy you. And even now, God can still turn pain into wisdom, heartbreak into strength, and failure into testimony. The next chapter of your life will require maturity. God says childish thinking must end. Emotional reactions must become more controlled. You cannot keep making permanent decisions based on temporary feelings. Growth requires discipline. Wisdom requires patience. Healing requires honesty. And transformation requires surrender. There are certain truths you already know but keep avoiding because facing them feels uncomfortable. God says avoidance only delays healing. Ignoring problems never removes them. Some conversations need to happen. Some behaviors need to stop. Some wounds need proper healing instead of constant suppression. You have also been carrying fear about the future. Financial concerns, family concerns, health concerns, questions about where your life is heading. God says fear has stolen enough of your peace already. Worry cannot change the future, but trust can strengthen you while walking toward it. The enemy wants you consumed by anxiety because anxious people struggle to hear God clearly. There may soon be unexpected news or sudden changes around you. Some events will force you to make important decisions quickly. God says prepare spiritually now so fear does not control you later. Strong foundations matter most during storms. Build your spiritual life before difficult moments arrive, not after everything falls apart. Lately you have also struggled with exhaustion. Not just physical exhaustion, but emotional and spiritual exhaustion too. You feel tired of fighting certain battles repeatedly. Tired of disappointment. Tired of carrying responsibilities. Tired of pretending everything is okay when internally you feel drained. God says He understands your weariness completely. But do not confuse exhaustion with defeat. Rest may be necessary, but giving up is not your answer. Sometimes people become so focused on their pain that they stop noticing how far they have already come. Look at everything you survived already. Look at the moments you thought would break you completely, yet somehow you kept moving forward. That strength did not come from yourself alone. God was carrying you even when you could not feel it. There is also a warning about pride. Pride does not always appear as arrogance. Sometimes pride appears as refusing help, refusing correction, or refusing to surrender control. You have been trying to handle too many burdens alone. God says humility opens doors that pride keeps closed. Stop pretending you are fine when your spirit desperately needs healing. You are entering a season where hidden things will become visible. Truth cannot stay buried forever. Lies eventually collapse. False intentions eventually reveal themselves. God says do not fear exposure. Exposure is necessary because healing begins only after truth surfaces. Some people around you are not who they pretend to be. Pay attention to repeated patterns instead of empty words. Pay attention to actions more than promises. God gave you discernment for a reason. Stop ignoring red flags simply because you fear being alone. Loneliness is temporary, but staying connected to destructive people can damage your future deeply. There is someone specifically who keeps crossing your mind while hearing this message. Deep inside, you already sense that relationship is unhealthy. You keep hoping things will change, yet the same pain repeats again and again. God says stop confusing attachment with peace. Real peace does not constantly leave you emotionally wounded. The enemy has also been attacking your confidence intentionally. Negative thoughts have become louder lately. Thoughts telling you that you are not enough, not valuable, not capable, or too broken to succeed. God says those thoughts are not from Him. Your value was never determined by people's opinions or by temporary failures. You were created with purpose long before fear entered your life. Heaven still has plans for you despite everything that happened. But purpose requires awakening. You cannot continue sleeping spiritually while expecting transformation to happen automatically. God says the next season of your life could become one of the most important seasons you have ever experienced. Doors will open, but responsibility will increase too. Opportunities will appear, but discernment will be necessary. Blessings may arrive, but discipline must remain strong or you could lose what was given. That is why this warning feels urgent. God is preparing you, correcting you, and calling you closer before major changes unfold. The goal is not fear. The goal is awakening. Heaven wants your heart fully alive again, not trapped in numbness, distraction, or hopelessness. Tonight, stop for a moment and examine your spirit honestly. What has been controlling your thoughts lately? What keeps stealing your peace? What habits keep pulling you away from God? What fears keep limiting your faith? Be honest about the condition of your soul because healing begins with truth. God says your time to remain spiritually asleep is ending. The season ahead will demand stronger faith, deeper wisdom, and greater discernment than before. Prepare yourself now while there is still time to grow, heal, and reconnect with Him fully. This message reached you because heaven still cares about your future. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. But you are being warned lovingly to wake up before distraction, fear, and unhealthy patterns steal more years from your destiny. God says there is something happening beneath the surface of your life that you cannot fully see yet. While you focus on daily struggles, heaven is watching a much bigger picture unfold. Every delay, every disappointment, every closed door has been shaping you for a season that is approaching quickly. But before that season begins, there are areas of your heart that must be corrected, healed, and awakened. You have spent too much time ignoring the warning signs around you. Deep inside, you know certain things in your life are unhealthy. Certain habits weaken your peace. Certain relationships leave you emotionally drained. Certain environments pull you further away from clarity and purpose. Yet comfort keeps convincing you to remain where you are familiar, even when familiar places are slowly destroying your spirit. God says comfort can become dangerous when it keeps you trapped. Many people stay connected to toxic cycles simply because change feels uncomfortable. But growth will always require leaving something behind. You cannot enter a new season while carrying the same destructive patterns from the old one. Some behaviors must end if your future is going to become stronger. The enemy has been working carefully against your focus. He knows your potential, even when you doubt it yourself. That is why distractions increased whenever you tried to grow spiritually. Every time you attempted to pray more, discipline yourself, or improve your life, something suddenly pulled your attention away. Fatigue appeared. Temptation appeared. Doubt appeared. Discouragement appeared. The enemy fears consistency because consistent faith eventually breaks strongholds. God says stop underestimating spiritual warfare. Not every battle is physical. Some battles happen entirely within the mind. Confusion, fear, hopelessness, and constant negativity can slowly weaken a person from the inside. That is why protecting your thoughts matters so much during this season. Whatever constantly enters your mind eventually shapes your emotions, decisions, and direction. Lately, your mind has felt overcrowded. Too many worries. Too many fears. Too many unanswered questions. Some nights you struggle to rest because anxiety continues speaking long after the world becomes quiet. God says you were never meant to carry every burden alone. The pressure you feel is partly coming from trying to control outcomes that only God can truly handle. There is someone reading this who feels like life has become heavier than before. Responsibilities increased. Emotional pain increased. Financial pressure increased. And secretly you wonder how much longer you can continue carrying everything without breaking. God says your exhaustion is real, but your strength is not gone. Heaven has not abandoned you in this difficult season. Even when you felt alone, God was still protecting you from dangers you never noticed. Some situations could have become far worse if heaven had not intervened quietly. Certain people left your life because God prevented deeper damage. Certain plans failed because they would have led you into destruction later. You cried over losses that were actually hidden protection. One day you will look back and understand why certain prayers were answered differently than expected. Right now frustration blinds your understanding, but wisdom often arrives later. God sees consequences you cannot yet see. That is why trust becomes necessary even during painful seasons. There is also a warning concerning your emotions. Recently anger, frustration, or sadness have been influencing your decisions more than wisdom. Emotional reactions can destroy opportunities quickly if left uncontrolled. God says maturity is necessary now. Learn to pause before reacting. Learn to seek peace before speaking. Learn to think carefully before making permanent decisions during temporary emotional storms. You are entering a season where self-control will protect you greatly. Some people will intentionally provoke you. Others will misunderstand you. Some situations will test your patience deeply. But God says not every battle deserves your energy. Discernment means recognizing when silence is wiser than argument. There is also spiritual danger in constantly comparing your life to others. Social pressure has been affecting your peace more than you realize. You see other people succeeding while you feel stuck. You see others appearing happy while you silently struggle. But comparison blinds people from recognizing their own journey. God is writing a different story for your life. Stop measuring your progress against someone else's timeline. The enemy wants you discouraged because discouraged people stop pursuing purpose. But God says your journey is not finished. There are still opportunities ahead. Still blessings ahead. Still healing ahead. Still breakthroughs ahead. The chapter you are currently living is not the final chapter of your story. You have also been struggling with trust. Past betrayal wounded your heart deeply. Because of what happened before, you now expect disappointment from people automatically. God says healing from betrayal takes time, but do not allow pain to turn your heart completely cold. Guard your heart wisely, but do not bury it beneath bitterness and fear forever. Someone from your past may soon try to re-enter your life unexpectedly. God says be careful. Not every return is meant to become reconciliation. Some people return only because they lost access to what you provided emotionally, spiritually, or financially. Pray for discernment before reopening doors that once caused deep pain. There is a strong need for spiritual discipline in this season. Your soul cannot remain healthy if prayer only happens occasionally. Your spirit requires consistent connection with God just like your body requires food and water. The world around you constantly drains energy from your heart and mind. Without spiritual renewal, exhaustion eventually takes over completely. God says your environment matters more than you realize. Some music, conversations, entertainment, and influences quietly shape your thinking over time. What you repeatedly consume eventually affects your spirit. Be careful what you allow into your mind daily, because seeds grow wherever they are planted consistently. There is also hidden fear inside you about failure. You hesitate to move forward because you are afraid of making mistakes again. But fear of failure has already delayed too many opportunities. God says courage does not mean feeling no fear. Courage means continuing forward despite fear. The next season may require you to take steps without complete certainty. Faith often begins before full understanding appears. Noah built before rain came. Abraham traveled before seeing the promise. Many miracles begin with obedience before evidence becomes visible. God says stop waiting until you feel fully ready. Growth happens during the journey, not before it begins. If you continue waiting for perfect confidence, perfect conditions, or perfect timing, you may remain stuck longer than necessary. There is also a heavy spirit of discouragement trying to settle over your life recently. Some mornings you wake up already feeling drained emotionally. Motivation disappears quickly. Hope feels distant. But God says do not build your future on temporary emotions. Feelings change daily. Truth remains steady even when emotions fluctuate. You are stronger than the enemy wants you to believe. Look at how many battles you already survived. There were moments when you thought life would completely destroy you, yet somehow you kept moving forward. That endurance came from God strengthening you quietly behind the scenes. God also says there are gifts inside you that remain underdeveloped because fear keeps silencing them. You carry wisdom, creativity, compassion, and strength that could impact many people if fully awakened. But insecurity has caused you to hide parts of yourself for too long. The season ahead will require boldness. Opportunities may come suddenly, and hesitation could cause missed blessings. Prepare yourself mentally and spiritually now so you can recognize those opportunities when they appear. Do not ignore the repeated conviction you have been feeling lately. That conviction is not meant to shame you. It is meant to guide you back toward alignment with God's purpose. Conviction is evidence that heaven still cares enough to correct your direction. Tonight, spend time in silence with God. Be honest about your fears, weaknesses, anger, confusion, and exhaustion. Stop pretending everything is fine when your spirit desperately needs renewal. God already knows your struggles completely, and He is inviting you closer, not pushing you away. This message remains urgent because time continues moving quickly. Seasons change. Opportunities pass. Hearts become hardened when truth is ignored repeatedly. God says wake up spiritually before distraction steals more years from your destiny. Your future still carries hope, but preparation must begin now. The next chapter of your life could transform everything if you choose obedience, wisdom, healing, and faith over fear, distraction, and delay.